Look who's still standing after everything they threw at you. After every lie they planted, every story they twisted, every room they poisoned before you even walked in. Welcome back to the ones who've been carrying the weight of accusations they never earned, the stain of rumors they never started, the ghost of a reputation destroyed by people who smiled to your face while sharpening knives behind your back. They thought they buried you, didn't they? Thought they covered their tracks so well that the truth would stay buried forever, that no one would ever dig deep enough to find what really happened. But here's what they didn't count on. Here's the part that's about to shatter their carefully constructed reality into a million irreparable pieces. Someone went looking. Someone who refused to believe their version. Someone who knew the story didn't add up. Someone who saw through the performance and decided to do what everyone else was too scared, too comfortable, too complicit to do. They went dark, they disappeared from the grid, cut every tie, burned every bridge, and went hunting for the one thing that could destroy the lie forever. The evidence, the proof, the undeniable truth that you were telling all along. And they found it, oh, they found it. Every deleted message, every altered screenshot, every forged timestamp, every coordinated attack, every private conversation where they admitted what they were doing to you, where they laughed about how easy it was to make everyone believe their fiction, where they planned each move like generals, orchestrating a war against someone who didn't even know they were on the battlefield. This person, this shadow, this silent warrior, didn't just find scraps. They found the entire architecture of the conspiracy, the blueprints of your destruction, the paper trail of malice, documented in real time by the very people who swore they were innocent. And now they're sitting on a nuclear file, a compilation so devastating that everyone who contributed to your downfall is about to experience the full weight of karmic justice, delivered in high-resolution screenshots, time-stamped confessions, and recorded conversations they thought were safely buried in deleted chats and private servers. They're not just ready to clear your name, they're ready to burn the entire system that tried to erase you, ready to expose every liar, every enabler, every coward who stayed silent while watching you suffer, ready to make sure that when people search your name years from now, they won't find the lies anymore. They'll find the truth, the real story, the evidence that proves you were right all along. Let's talk about what happened for a second, because people need to understand the level of psychological warfare you survived, the coordinated campaign of reputation assassination that was waged against you while you were just trying to exist, trying to defend yourself with nothing but your word against an army of storytellers who had the numbers, the platform, and the audience already convinced. They didn't just spread one lie, they built an entire narrative, a multi-layered false reality where you were the villain, the problem, the threat, and they were the victims, the heroes, the ones who had to warn everyone about how dangerous you were. They whispered in group chats. They made subtle posts that seemed innocent but were designed to plant seeds of doubt. They coordinated their timing so that every platform, every circle, every mutual friend heard the same distorted version of events within hours, creating an echo chamber so powerful that the truth didn't stand a chance. And you tried to defend yourself, tried to explain, tried to show people the reality. But every time you spoke, they twisted your words, called you defensive, called you unhinged, said your reaction was proof of everything they claimed, weaponizing your pain as evidence of your guilt. They isolated you systematically, turned your friends into informants, your allies into skeptics, your safe spaces into hostile territories where your very presence was treated like a contamination. And through it all, they smiled. They posted inspirational quotes about healing and boundaries. They played the role of mature, evolved souls who just wanted peace, while behind the scenes, they were architects of your destruction. But someone saw through it. Someone who wasn't part of their circle. Someone who watched from the outside and noticed the patterns, the inconsistencies, the way their story kept shifting, the way they all said the same things in slightly different words like they were reading from a script, the way they reacted too quickly, too coordinated, too aggressive whenever anyone questioned the narrative. This person started asking questions that no one else dared to ask, started looking at timelines that didn't match, started noticing how certain screenshots were cropped just a little too conveniently, how certain details changed depending on who was telling the story, how the people accusing you the loudest had the most to hide themselves. So they did something radical, something dangerous, something that required sacrificing their own social standing and safety. They went undercover. They infiltrated the inner circles. They played along. They earned trust. They listened to the unguarded conversations. They watched the masks slip when people thought no one was paying attention. And slowly, piece by piece, they collected the evidence, the real evidence, not the manufactured garbage that was presented as truth, but the actual communications, the actual admissions, the actual proof that this was a coordinated takedown, that you were targeted deliberately, that everything you said happened exactly the way you said it happened, and the people who destroyed your reputation knew it the whole time. Now they're sitting on files that read like a crime novel, conversations where your enemies discussed tactics, where they debated how far to push, where they celebrated small victories in isolating you, where they mocked your attempts to defend yourself, where they strategized about how to shut you down if you got too close to exposing them, where they reassured each other that no one would believe you anyway, because they had already poisoned every well, controlled every narrative, ensured that your voice would be dismissed as the ramblings of someone unstable, someone bitter, someone who just couldn't accept accountability. These files contain timestamps that prove they lied about when things happened, screenshots that show they edited and manipulated evidence before presenting it publicly, recordings that capture them admitting in private what they denied in public, witness statements from people who finally found the courage to tell the truth, people who were there, who saw what really happened, who were threatened or guilted into silence but couldn't live with the lie anymore. This evidence doesn't just suggest you were innocent, it proves it, with the kind of clarity that makes denial impossible, the kind of documentation that holds up under any scrutiny, the kind of truth that burns so bright it forces everyone who participated in your destruction to either confess or be exposed as the liars they are. And here's what's beautiful about this moment. Here's what makes this different from just another revenge fantasy. This isn't about you seeking vindication. You didn't go looking for this. You didn't demand it. You didn't manipulate or force anyone to clear your name. You simply survived. You simply kept walking, kept breathing, kept building a life in the ruins they left behind, and someone else, someone with nothing to gain and everything to lose, decided that the truth mattered more than their comfort, more than their social standing, more than staying in the good graces of the people who destroyed you. They saw injustice and couldn't stomach it. They saw you carrying a burden you didn't deserve and decided to lift it. They saw a system that rewards liars and punishes honesty and decided to break it. Not for recognition, not for praise, not even for your gratitude, but because watching someone suffer for telling the truth was more than their conscience could bear. This person became your ghost advocate, your shadow lawyer, your silent champion, working in darkness so that you could finally step into light, risking their own reputation to restore yours, knowing that when this evidence goes public, they'll face backlash too. They'll be called obsessed, bitter, someone with an agenda, someone who should mind their own business. But they don't care, because they know what you've been through. They know what it's like to watch someone drown, while everyone else pretends not to see. So what happens now? What happens when this evidence finally surfaces? When it's uploaded, shared, spread across every platform where your name was dragged through the mud, when everyone who participated in your destruction wakes up to find their lies exposed in uneditable, undeniable, permanent, public record. First comes the panic, the frantic deleting, the sudden account deactivations, the desperate attempts to control the damage, to spin a new narrative, to claim they were misunderstood, taken out of context, that things were different back then, that they've grown since then. All the predictable deflections of people who never thought they'd face consequences. Then comes the silence from people who were so loud when attacking you. Suddenly no one has anything to say. No one wants to address the evidence directly. They just quietly unfollow, quietly remove old posts, quietly hope it all blows over without them having to actually acknowledge what they did. Then comes the trickle of private messages, the half-hearted apologies sent in direct messages where no one else can see. The people who suddenly want to explain their side, want you to understand they were manipulated too, want forgiveness without accountability, want to be let off the hook without facing public reckoning. And finally comes the shift. The people who stayed silent when you needed them suddenly want to be on your side. Suddenly they always knew something was off. Suddenly they're angry on your behalf. Suddenly they want to be part of the story of your vindication, even though they were nowhere to be found during your crucifixion. But here's what they don't understand. Here's what none of them can grasp even now. This isn't about revenge for you anymore. This isn't about watching them squirm or collecting apologies like trophies. This isn't even about restoring your reputation, because somewhere along the way, somewhere in the depths of that isolation and false accusation, you stopped needing their validation, stopped needing their approval, stopped needing anything from a world that showed you how quickly truth becomes irrelevant when lies are more entertaining. And you've already done the work of rebuilding yourself in silence. You've already learned to stand without their support. You've already created a life where their opinions don't have power anymore, where their acceptance or rejection doesn't determine your worth, where you exist completely independent of their narratives and judgments. The evidence clearing your name isn't coming to save you because you already saved yourself. It's coming to expose them, to show the world what you've known all along, that they are the monsters they claimed you were, that they are the liars, the manipulators, the toxic ones who destroy people and call it accountability, who ruin lives and call it boundaries, who coordinate attacks and call it protecting the community. This evidence is a mirror, and they're about to see their true faces reflected back in undeniable clarity. And there's no filter, no angle, No edit that can make them look like anything other than what they are. Someone went dark for you, disappeared into the shadows where truth hides when lies become popular, and they did it knowing they might never get credit, knowing you might never even know it was them, knowing that the moment they release this evidence, they become a target too. But they did it anyway, because some people still believe that truth matters, that justice matters, that watching an innocent person suffer is worse than any social consequence they might face. This person saw you when no one else wanted to look, believed you when everyone else chose comfort over truth, fought for you when you had stopped fighting for yourself, not because you were weak, but because you were exhausted, because fighting against an army of liars with nothing but your word is like trying to empty an ocean with a teaspoon. Futile and soul-crushing and ultimately pointless when everyone has already decided what to believe. But this person didn't stop, didn't give up, didn't decide that your truth was less important than their peace. They went to war on your behalf. In the darkness where wars for truth are actually fought, in the unsexy, unglamorous work of documentation, investigation, evidence collection, risking everything for someone who might never even thank them. And that is what real loyalty looks like. Not the performative posts, not the public declarations, but the silent, dangerous, costly action taken when no one is watching. And now the world is about to change. Not just your world, but theirs too. The people who built their reputations on your ruins are about to watch those reputations crumble. The people who gained followers, sympathy, and status by painting you as a monster are about to be revealed as the real monsters. The people who stayed silent, who went along, who enabled the lie because it was easier than standing up for truth, they're about to face the uncomfortable reality that they participated in destroying an innocent person, and no amount of justification, no amount of claiming they didn't know, no amount of distance will erase their complicity. Some of them will try to claim ignorance, will say they only heard one side, will act like they were victims of manipulation too, and maybe some of them were. Maybe some genuinely believed the lies because they were told so convincingly. But that doesn't change what they did. Doesn't erase the words they said, the accusations they spread, the pain they caused. Ignorance is not innocence when someone is screaming the truth and you choose not to listen, because listening would require you to question people you like, to confront uncomfortable realities, to admit you might have been wrong. The evidence is coming, and it's not a leak, it's not a rumor, it's not speculation, it's documentation, it's proof. It's the kind of truth that doesn't need interpretation or spin or devil's advocate debates. It simply is. Undeniable, irrefutable, permanent. And when it drops, when it spreads across every platform where your name was destroyed, when it reaches every person who judged you, when it lands in the inbox of every person who participated in your downfall, the reckoning begins. Not the reckoning you wanted back when you were drowning in false accusations, desperately trying to prove your innocence, but the reckoning that comes when you've already survived, already healed, already built a new life. The reckoning that isn't about saving you, but about exposing them, about ensuring that their actions have consequences, about making sure that the next person they target has evidence that these people are capable of coordinated destruction. You pick a fight, and now you beat everyone they about creating a record that can't be deleted, can't be edited, can't be gaslit away when they try to do this again. Because people like this always do it again, always find a new target, always need a villain to unite against, always need someone to destroy, to feel powerful. Someone went dark, went silent, went underground, and emerged with fire, with proof, with the weapon that destroys lies, truth, raw, documented, undeniable truth. And they're not asking for your permission to release it. They're not checking if you're ready. They're not waiting for the perfect moment. They're simply doing what should have been done from the beginning, presenting reality without filter, without spin, without the manipulation that turned your life into their entertainment. And when this evidence becomes public knowledge, when it's archived, shared, cited, referenced, when it becomes part of the permanent record associated with your name and their names, everything changes. The narrative they controlled so completely for so long shattered. The story they told themselves to justify their actions falls apart. The comfortable lie they've been living inside explodes, and they're left standing in the ruins of their own creation, exposed, accountable, and facing the consequences they were so certain they'd never face, because they thought they'd won, thought they'd gotten away with it, thought your silence meant defeat, thought your survival was just stubbornness, thought time would erase their crime. But time doesn't erase truth, it only makes lies more obvious. They're about to learn what you already know, that there's a difference between getting away with something and actually being innocent, that there's a cost to destroying someone, even if you never face immediate consequences, that the universe keeps receipts even when people delete them, that someone is always watching, always documenting, always collecting evidence, always waiting for the right moment to bring truth into light. And that moment is now. Not because you demanded it, not because you manipulated it into existence, but because someone who saw injustice couldn't stomach it anymore. Someone who watched you suffer decided that your suffering meant more than their comfort. Someone who had nothing to gain and everything to lose decided that truth was worth the risk. And that's the real story here. Not just that you were innocent, not just that you were right, not just that they were lying, but that in a world where lying is easier, where going along is safer, where silence is rewarded, someone chose difficulty, chose danger, chose to stand alone in defense of truth, chose you when choosing you cost them everything. And that choice, that sacrifice, that silent warfare waged in darkness on your behalf, that's the evidence that goodness still exists. That loyalty still exists, that there are still people who believe some things matter more than popularity, more than safety, more than the comfort of staying in everyone's good graces. So here's what you need to understand as this evidence prepares to surface, as the person who found it prepares to release it, as the world prepares to see what you've known all along. You don't owe anyone anything. Not forgiveness, not understanding, not acceptance of their apologies, not patience with their excuses, not compassion for their discomfort when truth arrives. You don't owe them peace. You don't owe them closure. Shh. Listen. Do you hear it? That whisper in your mind, the one that's been there since you were a child, the one that said, "You're different," the one that told you, "They'll never understand you." But then the world came along, wrapped its cold fingers around your throat and started to squeeze. "Stay in your place," they said. "Don't stand too tall, don't speak too loud, don't be too much." Oh, they wanted you small, they wanted you tame, because if you ever saw the truth, if you ever realized what you really are, they wouldn't be able to sleep at night. They convinced you that you were powerless, just another cog in their machine, another nameless, faceless pawn in their little game. But tell me, have you ever felt it? That flicker inside you, that itch in your bones, that strange electric hume under your skin? That's not fear, that's power. They've spent years trying to smother it, pouring water over your fire, filling your head with doubts. They told you to be humble, to be quiet, to blend in. But deep down, you always knew you were never meant to be like them. You were never meant to follow the herd, to live in a cage built by cowards. You were meant to burn. And the best part? They know it, they see it, they feel it, and it terrifies them. Oh, you've seen it, haven't you? The way their eyes shift when you walk into a room, the way their smiles twitch just for a second, like they're not sure if they should be welcoming you or fearing you. They can't quite place it, can't put it into words, but something about you unsettles them. It's not what you say, it's not what you do, it's something deeper. Something in the way you exist. You don't follow their script. You don't shrink. You don't beg for permission to breathe. And that makes them nervous. Because the world is built on predictability, on control, and you, my friend, you don't fit the mold. They watch you like a puzzle with missing pieces, like a storm cloud on the horizon, beautiful, untamed, and just unpredictable enough to be dangerous, because they don't understand you. And what people don't understand, they fear. Not because you're violent, not because you threaten them. No, no, that would be too easy. They fear you because you can't be tamed, because you don't need their approval, because you don't need them at all. And oh, how that terrifies them, how it eats at them, because most people are desperate to be accepted. They fold themselves into smaller and smaller shapes just to fit in, but you stand tall. And that is dangerous. They see something in you that they lack, a presence, a power, a silent, unshakable knowing that makes their stomach turn. Because deep down, they can feel it, the truth they refuse to face. You don't belong in their little world. You were made for something more. And the best part, they can't do a damn thing about it. Look closely. Watch their eyes when you walk in. That flicker, that hesitation, that split second where their instincts kick in before their masks slip back on. You see it, don't you? Fear. Not the kind that comes from fists or weapons, no, no. That's too simple, too obvious. This fear, it runs deeper. It's the fear of something they can't control, something they can't predict. Weak people don't fear violence, they don't fear chaos. They fear freedom, the kind that burns in your eyes, the kind that says, I don't need your rules, I don't need your approval, I don't need you. That's what shakes them to their core. That's what makes their voices a little too high, their laughter a little too forced. You don't even have to say a word. Your existence is a warning, because you think, you question, you see. You don't swallow their lies like candy, don't nod along like a puppet on their strings. And that makes you a problem a glitch in their system, a loose thread in their delicate little tapestry of control. They built this world for people who follow, who obey, who kneel. But you won't. And that's why they want you gone. That's why they try to dull your edges, to make you doubt, to make you small. But they can't, because you know too much, because you've felt what real power is. Not dominance, not control, but the unshakable truth of who you are. And once you've felt that, there's no going back. So they whisper, they plot, they try to box you in, clip your wings, break your spirit, but all they're really doing is proving how much power you already have. They've fed you lies since the day you could crawl, told you that power is in bank accounts, in titles, in the weight of a name that carries prestige. That's their illusion, their little trick to keep you blind, because real power is something they can't measure. It's not about how much you own. It's about how much you can't be owned. It's not about how many people know your name. It's about whether you know who you are when the world tries to rewrite you. And that is something no amount of money can buy. Because true power, it's not loud, it doesn't scream for attention, it doesn't beg to be noticed. It's the quiet storm behind your eyes, the steel in your spine, the fact that no matter what they throw at you, no matter how many times they push, pull, or tear you down, you don't break. It's the unshakable belief that you belong to no one, that your mind, your soul, your fire, they are yours and yours alone. It's walking through the world, through the noise, through the chaos, and knowing that nothing can touch you unless you let it. And that terrifies them, because people who know who they are can't be manipulated. They can't be scared into submission, bribed into silence, or guilted into obedience. They see through the games, the tricks, the carefully constructed walls designed to keep them small. And once you see, you never unsee. That's why they keep you distracted, why they drown you in mindless entertainment, in endless scrolling, in cheap dopamine hits that keep you weak, tired, numb. Because the moment you wake up, the moment you step out of their illusion and into your true self, you become unstoppable. And that's what they fear most. Not your fists, not your rage, but your clarity, your ability to stand in the middle of the storm, smiling, unbothered, untamed. The fact that you can lose everything, money, status, approval, and still walk like a king. Because kings aren't made by gold, they're made by fire. And you were born in it. They've been playing this game longer than you've been alive. Masters of control, architects of doubt. They don't need chains to keep you shackled. No, their weapons are far more subtle, invisible. They use fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear that if you step too far, if you shine too bright, the world will turn on you. They whisper it in your ear before you even know what strength feels like. Be careful. Don't stand out too much. Stay in line. And so, you hesitate. You second guess, you shrink, while they thrive off the potential you never claimed. They bet on your hesitation. They profit from your doubt. And it's brilliant, really, because the best cages, they don't look like cages at all. They look like comfort, like stability, like a life that's just good enough to keep you from reaching for more. They feed you praise in small doses, just enough to keep you dependent, just enough to keep you hungry for their approval. But what happens when you stop needing it? When their words, their validation, their entire system of control becomes meaningless to you? That's when the fun begins. Because the moment you stop chasing their acceptance, their power over you crumbles. They can't manipulate a man who isn't afraid to stand alone. They can't control someone who doesn't care about fitting in. And they despise that. It terrifies them. Because once you realize you were never meant to be a pawn in their little game, you start making your own rules. So they panic, they attack, they try to drag you back into their world of smallness, of self-doubt, of carefully constructed limits. They call you arrogant, reckless, dangerous. But deep down, they know the truth. You've woken up. You've slipped through their fingers. And now, they don't control you anymore. Now, you set the rules. Now, you decide how the game is played. And trust me, they're not ready for that. There was a moment, wasn't there? A split second when everything clicked, when the noise of the world faded, and for the first time you felt it, that power, that fire inside you, the raw, untamed force that had been caged for too long. It wasn't a dream, it wasn't an accident, it was you. Remember the time you didn't break? When they pushed and you didn't fall? When they tried to bury you and you clawed your way back? You thought it was luck, a fluke, but no. That was your true self peeking through the cracks, and for a moment, they saw it too, and it scared the hell out of them. Because power like that, it can't be controlled. It doesn't bow. It doesn't beg. And the world isn't built for people like you. It's built to tame you, to dull your edges, to drown you in self-doubt so you never step into what you truly are. But now you see, you've had a taste of what you're capable of. And here's the real question. What happens when you stop holding back? What happens when you finally rip off the mask of self-doubt and unleash the storm you were always meant to be? Oh, they won't like that. Not one bit. They'll scramble. They'll panic. They'll whisper, "You've changed." No. You haven't changed. You've returned to what you were always meant to be. And the best part? There's no turning back. Not now. Not ever. Pain, the great equalizer, the currency of the strong. The weak curse it, hide from it, crumble beneath it. But you learn to hold it in your hands, to let it seep into your bones, to shape you into something more. Every betrayal, every failure, every night you stared at the ceiling, fists clenched, chest burning, asking why. They weren't punishments, they were lessons. And while others wept over their wounds, you sharpened yours into weapon. Pain is the fire that forges warriors. It strips away the illusions, the lies, the softness. It leaves behind something pure, something terrifying. Weaklings run from it. The powerful, they drink it like wine. They let it carve them into something unbreakable. They don't understand, do they? They think suffering makes you less, that hardship is a weight meant to crush you. But the truth is that pain is a gift, because while others avoid it, you embrace it. You let it build you, brick by agonizing brick, until you become something they can't touch. Every scar, every crack, every shattered piece you stitched back together, it all means something now. It's armor. It's proof. It's a reminder that you have already survived the worst. And that makes you dangerous. Because what do you do with someone who has nothing left to fear? Someone who has already been burned alive and came back laughing? You can't break them. You can't stop them. You can't control them. So let them stare. Let them whisper. Let them wonder how you keep getting back up. They don't need to know your secret. That pain isn't your weakness. It's your fuel. No more shrinking. No more biting your tongue. No more making yourself small just to keep others comfortable. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to stand above, to make them question everything they thought they knew. You are not here to be liked. You are not here to be understood. You are here to shake the very ground they stand on, to dismantle the lies they built their fragile world upon. You are the storm, the wildfire, the chaos they never saw coming. They spent years convincing you to hold back, to tone it down, to be a little less. But tell me, why should a lion pretend to be a sheep? Why should a force of nature apologize for existing? They fear what they can't control, and you, my friend, you are unstoppable. It's time to stop hesitating, time to stop waiting for permission that will never come. They will never be ready for what you are, so unleash it anyway. Step into your power, full fludge, literally. Let them call you crazy. Let them whisper. Let them try to box you in. They don't understand the kind of madness it takes to rewrite the rules, the kind of hunger, the kind of obsession that turns dreams into reality. You don't need their approval. You don't need their validation. You only need one thing: the will to act. Because once you step into who you were always meant to be, nothing can stop you. So let the world watch in terror as you rise. Let them feel it in their bones. The shift, the tremor, the inevitable reckoning. They tried to keep you caged. Now they get to see what happens when a caged beast breaks free. The moment you rise, the moment you refuse to bow, the knives will come out. You will see the whispers turn into shouts, the applause turn into resentment. They will call you arrogant, dangerous, too much. Let them. Their hatred is proof that you have broken free, that you no longer fit into the tiny box they built for you. Weak people despise strength, not because it harms them, but because it reminds them of everything they refuse to become. They will mock you. They will try to tear you down, twist your story, paint you as the villain. But don't you see? Every legend was a villain in someone's tale before they became a myth, before they became unstoppable. You were never meant to be universally loved. You were never meant to be the safe, the predictable, the acceptable one. The ones who change the world, they are feared first, envied, hated, and then respected. They won't clap for you now. They won't cheer. Not yet, because to them, you are a reminder of everything they settled for, and nothing terrifies people more than someone who refused to settle. So let them talk, let them stare, Let them seed in their own mediocrity while you carve your own throne from the ruins of their expectations. They can hate all they want, but soon they will have no choice but to watch. Because while they waste their breath, you are building an empire. While they scream into the void, you are becoming a force they cannot ignore. They fear you now, but one day, they'll wish they had stood beside you instead of against you. You are the storm they never saw coming. The quiet one. The underestimated one. The one they thought they had figured out. But storms don't announce their arrival. They just consume everything in their path. They thought they could keep you in chains, thought they could break your will, mold you into something safe, something small, but all they did was teach you how to break free. And now you are something they cannot contain. They feel it in the way you walk, in the way you speak, in the way you don't beg for permission anymore. It terrifies them because deep down they know you are no longer one of them. The world only fears what it does not control, and you are unstoppable now. The rules they forced on you, you rewrite them. The limits they imposed, you shatter them. The doubts they fed you, fuel for the fire. They feel it, that energy, that fire inside you. They pretend they don't see it, but their actions betray them. The nervous glances, the fake smiles, the sudden respect that wasn't there before. They know. And soon they will have no choice but to acknowledge the truth. You were never weak, you were never broken, you were only waiting, watching, preparing. And now the waiting is over. Now it's your turn.